Hello everyone, welcome to EDU 10004. This is the Flipped Collaborate for Assignment 3. Well done for submitting Assignment 2. We know that was a big one. We've got a lovely gentle weighting for our last assignment, and it's a nice way to finish the teaching period. So I'm just sharing my screen with you again today. I'm going to do a couple of videos here. So this first Flipped Collaborate, we're going to talk through the task, and in the second one I'm going to take you through some of the resources and supports, the tip sheets that will help you along the way. So in this first one, we're just doing the same as before. I found my dashboard, I found my unit, and I've headed into assignments, and yay, we're at assignment 3. So our assignment 3 is a case study. We've got a word limit of 1,500 words plus or minus 10%, and as I said, we've got a lovely gentle weighting of 30%. So you've worked really hard through the first 8 weeks of our unit. We know that, and you've got 70% of your unit grades behind you. So we're really lucky. We've got all the way until Monday of week 12 to work on our final assignment, and that's when you'll submit and you'll do your happy dance. So let's have a little look together here. We'll look through some of the wording here. I won't read all of it because there's too much to go into, but let's just understand what our third assignment is. So it's a case study. So what is a case study? Case studies depict real life scenarios or problems that help people consider multiple ways of looking at a topic. They provide opportunities to link theory with practice because they bring theory alive with real world scenarios. So in our assignment, we're going to work individually and collaboratively to analyse a case study. So you'll be thinking about the theories that we've covered in this unit when you analyse it, developing an improved case study, and you'll reflect on your learning through this A3 task and also over our unit of study. And it covers learning outcomes 2, 3 and 5. So we'll have a quick look at the assignment details together. So for this assignment, you'll work in teams of 3 or 4. Your ELA has already assigned this to you. So we decided to do it in week 6 instead of week 7. It just makes things a little bit easier and smoother for you if you know your teammates and how to find them before we head into console week. So we just pushed that early to week 6, so we're all nice and organised. Everyone will submit using the same template, so it's there, and I've also popped it in our Padlet. So before we go into this, I'm just going to show you a little visual of what our assignment is. So in our assignment, let me move this down a little bit. In our assignment, we've got 6 parts. And in these 6 parts, you will be mainly working on your own. So you can see here, we've got team task in part 1, a team task in part 2, and they're the only elements that you will need to complete alongside your teammates. So in week 8, we complete part 1. So this is what you'll do with your team. You're going to analyze the scenario. So you'll identify what are the key issues, what are the key elements, who are the stakeholders, what's not working in this learning environment. Then we head to week 9, which is part 2. So this is where you split off from your teammates and you'll all choose a different theory that we've covered in this unit, and you'll research it. You'll identify how this might support the case study and the people in it. So you go off and do your research, and then you come back. So in week 10, you come back to your teammates, and each of you shares what you've researched, what you found about your own theory, and you're going to review them. You're going to work out together which is the best theory that meets the needs in this classroom, in this learning environment. It's tricky to choose one. We know that a few different theories can be helpful in any situation. In fact, many can. So it's a bit tricky, but you do need to identify one that you think best meets the needs of the people and the situation in this classroom. Then you split off, and the rest you'll do on your own. So in part 4, you're going to create a new scenario. You're going to improve on what's happening in this classroom. You're going to reflect on your own learning and completing the task, how you've changed, what do you understand now about theories and teaching and learning, has it changed in the last 12 weeks? And the last part is your appendices. So that's where you show us, you demonstrate how you've collaborated with your teammates, and that's something that you can do on your own or with your team, you can decide. So that's just a bit of a visual to help you understand each of the elements, and you can see that we actually walk through this together. So all these elements here, we actually complete alongside your ELAs. So you'll head straight into your own little discussion forum with your own teammates every week. That will be your priority. If you'd like to share it with your wider learning group, we think we've identified this, we'd like to focus on that, that's wonderful. Just remember that your priority will be completing it with your own few little teammates, but also your ELA will be available and guiding the discussion with your entire learning group to help you out as well. So that's a little bit of a visual for you, and it takes you all the way up to the end of week 11, ready for submission. So let's have a little look at the scenario. So this is key. So we know that in week 8, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to analyze the scenario. So let's read it first so we can understand what's going on. So let's have a look at it. It's very brief. In a foundation classroom, the children are seated at shared tables of 6 to complete their lessons. The teacher decides where each child sits, so children who are sometimes disruptive sit with children who are more able to focus. Molly, Jenna and Teo share a table, and Molly and Teo are mostly able to complete their set tasks. But Jenna likes to fidget, sing, talk enthusiastically, and is easily distracted. The teacher has tried to think of strategies to help Jenna focus, but nothing has worked so far. The teacher has spoken with Jenna's parents, who say she is a happy child, and the transition report from the kindergarten teacher states that she loves to learn, asks lots of questions, and socialises well with other children. So as I said, this is a really brief scenario here, but each element has been included here for a reason. So think of these as clues to what needs to change, what issues are there here, and how can we address them for all the stakeholders in this classroom. So just when I first look at this, what do I know? Okay, I know it's a foundation classroom, so I know the age range of the children, and I automatically know a little bit about their developmental level, the types of learning that they're used to, and how they interact with teachers, with their teammates. We know a lot about the children simply because of their age level. We know that they're seated at tables, and there's 6 of them in a group, and this is where they complete their lessons. So the teacher decides where each child sits and organises it. We also have some clues into the types of learners that we have here. And remembering that when we're looking at this, we're looking at all stakeholders. So who is involved here? I know we've got some named. This is really about Jenna, but not just Jenna. We've got some other named students here as well, and we've got students who aren't named. We know that there's a whole class involved here. We know that there's a teacher. We know that there's Jenna's parents, they're mentioned. Also, all of the other children and their parents. Just remember that we're considering all stakeholders in our responses for our assignment. So our learning designers have walked us again through the whole task. So these are all the steps that I just showed you, and they've taken the assignment details and they've used them to create this. So for each step, you're given some prompts. So this will help you to address the elements that need to be included in each. So in week 8, this is where you're working out, what concerns are in the scenario? What are the issues here? We can see our stakeholders, children, teachers and families. What's affecting the learning environment here? And we've only got 250 words to do this. So we know that that's not a lot of words. We need you to be concise and precise and identify the key elements here. One of the questions we often get is this second point here. Which of the 7 theories in this unit might help? We know that you're not going to spend more than about a sentence or so explaining that. You might just tell us that there are a number of different ways and different theories that could support the stakeholders here. Don't be too concerned about that second point here. We want to know what factors are affecting the learning environment and the concerns that are presented here. So we're going to move through each of these steps, and you're going to complete these with your teammates. So again, remember step 1 and step 3, they're the only ones that you complete with your teammates. The rest of it you will be doing individually. Okay, so I'm just going to identify one thing here in step 3. So you'll remember in step 1, you've analysed and looked at the scenario. Step 2, everyone goes off and chooses their own theory to research. In step 3, you come back and share that with your team and you work out which is the best theory to support the stakeholders and this learning environment. I'm just going to highlight this here, that there is no right or wrong theory here. We've had hundreds and hundreds of students come through, and one of the things that they identify is, oh gosh, there's some issues and a number of different ways we can address it. So you just choose the one theory in your team that you believe best meets the needs of the students and the stakeholders here. And there are many different theories that apply here. So there is no right, there is no wrong answer. It's just you identifying how you have understood the theories and how they can support this learning environment. So we go through our reflection. So this is where you reflect on what you've learned and how you've changed over the unit. You might reflect on the role of the teacher, on completing this task with your fellow students. And then in step 6, you're going to do your record of collaboration. So we need to meet in criteria 1, it requires team collaboration. So I've got some examples of how you can demonstrate that to your ELA team. Even though you'll be using your team discussion board as a starting point, you might complete all of your discussions in there. You might break off and use email or Skype or Collaborate or Facebook or WhatsApp or anything that might work for you. But just remember that your ELA won't be able to check all of those. So your appendix, or your step 6, is actually, you're going to take screenshots to demonstrate your collaboration with your ELA, and that becomes part of your grading, just part of your grading. So it's just part of criteria 1. And then we've got some supports here for you. So working in teams, we know it's a bit different when you're online, but there's some supports there. Academic writing, and again there's our template, and we have our criteria here. So with our criteria, we'll be going through that in our live brainstorm session. So we've got 5 elements here, and you'll see that each one of them is reflected in down here, our descriptors, and also our assignment details that we just went through. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to our Padlet. So again, I've created a Padlet just so we can organize all our questions and tips and tricks and things like that. So I'm going to finish off here because this is our first Flipped Collaborate completed. Now I'm going to talk you through all the tips and tricks, the timelines and the videos that we have available to help you out. So I'll finish up here and just click on the next recording and we'll keep going. Thank you.